lost everything we got, just about. But we got out safely, and all our friends are safe, so that's the main thing.
We picked up a lady trying to get to her dad. We had a boat, so we're trying to do whatever we can in our time of crisis and disaster. So this is time for everybody to pull together if they can.
Nobody's just sitting around watching. Everyone's coming together as one.
Those were residents of Denham Springs, Louisiana, one of the worst hit areas of the flooding this week, where the death toll has risen to 13. The receding water has only begun to reveal the physical toll of this latest natural disaster to hit my home state. 22 of Louisiana's 64 parishes has been declared federal disaster areas. Thousands remain displaced from their homes, and the damages will certainly be in the tens of millions of dollars when all is said and done. Joining me now to discuss the spiritual dimension of this disaster and what the church is doing to provide relief is the Bishop of Baton Rouge, Bishop Robert Muench. Your Excellency, thank you for being with us. And I should share with people, you and I have known each other a long time. You were my high school guidance counselor in New Orleans, so you're to blame, Bishop.
Put it on the grocery list.
Oh, yeah, we will. We'll put that on the to answer for list. I want to start with what you're seeing there, Your Excellency, on the ground. What do people need? 20,000 people displaced, 10,000
Right.
in shelters. What do they need at this moment?
Well, they first of all need human and spiritual support because they have experienced a devastating loss. Some with friends who have lost life, loss of home, property, possessions, cars, security. And so they have been placed in shelters where they have been lovingly provided for, and the community's response to those who have experienced these devastating losses has been incredible. Yesterday I received a message, and this is just an example. One of the military personnel that were in one of the shelters had asked if a priest could stop by to visit with him. And so I said, well, I'm going to a meeting where we bring in everybody, the main leaders in the diocese together, but I would come right afterwards, and I did. And so we prayed together when I got to the shelter, and then I met other Air National Guard members. And they said to me what was my experience, and I told them how much it validated my experience. They said, you know, we do this on a regular basis where there's need, and we've been in varying communities at various times. But we have never seen the outpouring of support and spirit that we have experienced in the Baton Rouge area. And it just so warmed my heart because that's what I was seeing, but they are outsiders, so to speak, who have experienced that themselves. Our people are good, they're responsive, they are caring, and they have come to help their brothers and sisters in need to serve their neighbor. It's very uplifting and inspirational.
Is that the silver lining in all this, Bishop? I've gotten so many reports from family, from friends in the region, reporters, that they're meeting neighbors, some for the first time in their lives. Because of the flood, it pushed them outside. You know, they're out of the air conditioning, the electricity's down, and they're having to interact and pull together to get through this. And what a contrast this is, Bishop, and I wonder if you could reflect on this. What we saw in Milwaukee with rioting and chaos, breaking out, attacks on police, here you have a natural disaster, and you don't have any of that. People are pulling together. What's the lesson there for the country?
Well, I will tell you what a woman who I visited in one of the shelters, who was from Baker, Louisiana, the way she dramatically said it to me. God is tired of all these shootings, and so he sent us this flood to make us work together and get along. And I said to myself, she's a much better preacher than I am. But what she said and others had said in different ways is that, and I have said it this way, what we have experienced is an unwelcomed event. But if we don't use this event as a graced opportunity for growth, it will be a double disaster. And I believe it is bringing people together supporting one another. And it shows, you know, how people respond to tragedy really tells you what's their inner core.
Yeah.
And I have been so admirable and so admired how the people in the church and in other areas of the community and aspects who've just come out to be neighbor one to another. Yeah. And it's heartwarming.
Yeah,
it's
well,
heartwarming.
The spirit and the faith of the people of southern Louisiana, really, it's a special place. And I mean, we saw it during Katrina, and I don't think anybody has a sense of what it's like unless you've been through it, to walk into your house and all of your belongings, all of your memories are just sludge on the floor. There's nothing left. And what that does to mothers and fathers and children and aunts and uncles and grandparents, it can be very jarring. 6 members of my own family have already lost their houses in your diocese. Give me a sense of what's happening now. They tell me the waters are receding in some areas, but they're rising in other parishes.
Exactly. In Livingston, and by the way, when we use the word parish in Louisiana, that is the secular word is county every place else. But in Louisiana, it's not county, it's parish. So I always am saying civil parish or church parish so that people outside of the state understand what we're talking about.
Sure.
It has really touched a lot of people's lives. And the waters in Livingston Civil Parish are receding, but in Ascension Civil Parish, they are rising. And so it's going to take a while for this massive amount of water to dissipate. And it affects roads. We've also had wireless technology down for several days. So people to get where they need to get. And for example, these waters, thank goodness for volunteers in boats came to rescue people just getting in their boats and going to see if anybody needing help. That saved so many lives of people that were there by themselves. So again, the outpouring of this spirit, and we're not through this yet. And this is just still the first stage of what we're going through. And by the way, we're speaking about the Diocese of Baton Rouge, which is 5,500 square miles. To our west, the Diocese of Lafayette, and then to its west, the Diocese of Lake Charles, also have experienced damages, not to the extent of the Baton Rouge Diocese, but they also need to be in our thoughts, our prayers, and our actions.
Bishop Muench, why do you think this story has not garnered the media attention that we've seen lavished upon other natural disasters like this, whether it's Hurricane Sandy, which reports are saying this is as big in magnitude, or Hurricane Katrina, which was slightly bigger? Why not the media attention, do you think, to this story, these Louisiana floods?
You know, you are more an expert in that area than I am. I don't, but it's a good human story in the midst of the disaster. And sometimes we are quick to point out the flaws of communities and less to acknowledge not only a hero here or a heroine there who's doing good things, but the community at large. It tells you who the community is and what the community is about. And I'm saddened to hear if it is not getting more national publicity because it is a heartwarming story. And it's also a story of inspiration for others to say, you know what, we need to do this, and we're not the first ones, and we will not be the last ones to experience natural disasters. But it does show in the here and now how there's so many good people that we don't even realize that are nearby to us.
No, well, that's what I'm hearing. The coming together of community, which was a surprise. You know, many of these people, they're living their happy lives, but they're isolated. We're in the air conditioning, it's hot. You know, you drive to the house, you go inside. Now they're out and they're interacting and pulling together with neighbors in ways they never expected. Bishop, the Advocate newspaper in Baton Rouge has called on the president to break and interrupt his vacation in Martha's Vineyard and come down and show solidarity with the people of southern Louisiana. Do you join them in that call? Is it time for President Obama to come down?
Well, I don't tell anybody what to do, but I would say the support that we can get will mean a lot. And within our own state of Louisiana, people have pulled together, trying to work together to help. And it's been very impressive. I would just hope, and by the way, I've heard responses from Connecticut and Indiana, Illinois, and other places. I heard today that there is an 18-wheeler from Virginia packed with materials coming to us. We had a church parish that we helped during Katrina in Metairie that is sending an 18-wheeler to reciprocate what we did for them 10, 11 years ago. Yeah. There's just a lot of good things going on, and we need the message to be out that yes, we have a serious need, and yes, we depend upon God. But I like to tell people God's grace makes it possible for us, but God's grace relies on us to be able to activate it. Both those of us who are in the middle of this situation and those who are somewhat outside who can help. Yeah. Getting to heaven is not just being idly spiritual, it's about serving neighbor. Jesus said, you show your love of God by your love of neighbor, and that has been reinforced by St. John in his letter. So I think any people who can show the nation what we are experiencing, how they can help. And by the way, anyone who would like to help us in the Diocese of Baton Rouge, yes, you can go to the www.diobr.org website, and it will connect you to how, if you'd like to make an online contribution, we would very much welcome that, or how you might help in other ways. We're also asking for solidarity in prayer. This is not just a material situation, it is a spiritual situation, and the support of people in prayer means the world to us.
Well, Bishop Muench, know that people I know are going to be supportive of you and are certainly, I think, attentive to the needs. And these are, as the bishop said, they need volunteers. They're going to need rebuilding materials, because when you go into a house and your walls are collapsing, you've got to rebuild the walls, you need roofing material. All these materials are going to have to be brought in, because I know they're disappearing from shelves. So consider that as you watch this. Bishop Muench, in our final moments, your spiritual message here. What is the message here for your people and the nation at large?
When God created each of us individually by choice, He gave us the grace of being created in His image and likeness. And He calls forth from us to show our care for one another. He requires of us to serve Him by serving neighbor. And it's not just a question of a feeling or an intent. It's a question of a follow-through. And I have heard over and over through the years with, for example, high school students doing service projects in preparation for confirmation. In our area, we do confirmation at the 11th grade. And they have said how much they visited, for example, an old folks' home, as they call it, and they thought it was going to be boring, and they found out it was so inspirational for them and life-giving. When we do something good for someone else, it makes us feel good about ourselves. That's the aftermath of it, but we do it because God is entrusting this to us and making it possible through His love and His grace and His opportunity for us to reach out to others.
Very good. Bishop Robert Muench, thank you so much for being here, and know that our prayers are with you and the people of Baton Rouge and Livingston, Lafayette, Lake Charles, all of our friends and families there. And you can give to the Diocese of Baton Rouge and help in this moment of need. They have a Diocese of Baton Rouge Disaster Assistance Fund set up. Visit the diocesan website. It's diobr.org. diobr.org. The details are there. Look for the link in the middle of the homepage, and please keep the people of Southern Louisiana in your prayers.